Welcome to sequence number 3. If you haven't yet reviewed the downward dog tutorial, please go ahead and do that now. Otherwise, join me in a standing position. Take a deep breath in, raising your hands up above your head. As we breathe out, we're going to want to step our feet hip-width distance apart and let our hands drop to our chest. From here, we're going to bend into our halfway lift pose. For that, we're going to bend our knees a little bit, point the top of our head up nice and straight, extending our neck, and bend forward at the waist, walking our hands down to our knees. You'll notice that my spine is nice and straight in this position, and I'm reaching my neck nice and long. From here, you're going to introduce a big bend in your knees as you keep that spine straight. Let your arms relax down towards the floor. And finally, let go of your head very slowly. As it drops towards the ground, you can let go of that straight spine. You might find that your hands reach the floor at this point, or that you need a block to have a more comfortable and supported position. Either way, from here, you're going to straighten one knee and then the other, nice and slowly. You should only straighten until you feel a gentle stretch in the back of your knee, never until you feel pain. I'm going to go back and forth, taking a couple breaths. Let all the muscles in your body just kind of relax. Nod your head no and yes. And let your jaw relax in case you're clenching your teeth together. From here, we're going to go back to that knee bent position, almost in a squat, walking our hands back up to our thighs, and very slowly coming back to our standing position so that we don't get dizzy as we stand up straight. From here, we're going to take a nice big breath in, raising our hands above our head. Step your feet out hip-width distance apart, and this time we're going to bend our knees and go straight through our lift, relaxing and melting right into our forward fold position here. Either your hands on the ground or on your block. If you're not at the top of your mat, go ahead and shuffle over there now. You're going to push your hands firmly into the ground, lifting that point between your shoulder blades, and straighten your arms, making sure your wrists are below your shoulders. Shoot one leg back and then the other. This is called plank pose. Take a minute to make sure your wrists are below your shoulders, that your belly button is pulled up towards your spine, nice and tight, that your tailbone is tucked under, and that your neck is nice and long with the top of your head pointing to a point in front of you. If this is too hard, you can come down to your knees, or you can just come to your tabletop, whatever is more comfortable for you. From our plank position, for our plank on our knees, we want to slowly lower to the ground by bending our elbows. If you're lowering to the ground from your plank, always remember to keep your belly button up towards the sky and your tailbone tucked, and never sink into your lower back. Keep your belly button up nice and high as you lower down. You can have your forehead resting on your mat. From your lowered down position, your wrists should be directly below your shoulders. Next, we're going to come up into a pose called Cobra Pose. To do that, we're going to squeeze our elbows tightly to the side of our body and point our elbows back towards our feet. This should really make our shoulders drop back and away from our ears. We're going to zip our legs together, squeezing them together nice and tight, and pressing the tops of our feet down towards the mat. It should almost feel like your kneecaps lift up off the mat when you do this move. Next, we're going to focus on that belly button again. Pull it up towards your spine and squeeze your butt cheeks together. That helps to tuck your tailbone down and protect your spine. Last, we're going to extend our neck out long, reaching the top of our head to a point far away, and gently press into the ground. If you're doing this correctly, you should feel your whole body warming up. Remember to squeeze those elbows in. If this seems easy to you, You can lift the tops of your feet just a couple inches off of the ground. For this move, you really have to squeeze your butt cheeks together. After a couple seconds, let your body melt into the mat. Go ahead and relax and take a deep breath out. Maybe swing your legs from side to side here. We're going to do this one more time. Breathe all your air out. And as you breathe in, press your hands right below your shoulders. Squeeze your elbows down and back. Squeeze those legs tight together. Press the tops of your feet against the ground. Tuck your tailbone under and straighten your neck out nice and long as you gently push into the ground. If you're at this level, pick the tops of your feet up off the ground, squeezing your butt cheeks together, keeping your belly button up to protect your spine. One more deep breath in, and then let it all relax down to the ground. From your relaxed position, with your wrists under your shoulders, press back up into your tabletop. From here, we're going to come either to our puppy pose, or, if you're ready for it, to our downward facing dog. Take a moment to make sure you're pressing all 5 fingers into the ground and trying as hard as you can to drop that chest towards the floor, reaching your tailbone behind you with a nice big bend in your knees. See how close you can get to being straight from your fingertips to your tailbone. You might have to play with your hand or feet position so that you don't slide off your mat. Try straightening one leg here, and then the other. Once again, only straighten a little bit until you feel a gentle stretch, never until you feel pain. When you've done a couple rounds of this, I want you to tiptoe up to the top of your mat, keeping that bend in your knees. Walk your hands up your thighs and slowly to your seated position. Great. We're going to do that one more time. We're going to focus this time a little bit more on moving with our breath. So from our standing position, reach your arms up overhead, hands together, big breath in. On your breath out, move your feet hip width distance apart, let your hands drop down. We're breathing out as we're bending our knees and coming all the way down to our forward fold. We let our head rest down. Big bend in our knees as we reach towards the ground in our block. As we take a big breath in, we're going to walk back up to our halfway lift, where our neck is nice and extended and our back is nice and straight. As we breathe out, we're going to let it all relax down to the ground one more time. The top of our mat, we're going to breathe in, shooting one leg back and then the other. Hold that breath in our plank pose or on our knees if that's better for us. As we breathe out, lowering all the way to the ground. Shoulders, wrists below our shoulders, forehead on the mat. We're going to breathe in, squeezing everything tight together for that cobra pose. Squeeze your butt cheeks in, lift that belly button up, zip your legs together, and straighten that neck out. As you breathe down, let it all relax into the mat. Breathe in, coming back to our tabletop pose. And then breathe out, coming either to our puppy pose or our downward dog with a nice big bend in our knees. You can either stay here if you're comfortable, or come to our resting pose, where our hips are dropped back in our modified child's pose, or our full child's pose, where our knees point out and our forehead rests on the ground, if that's available to you. So let's go through that one more time. Breathe in as you reach your hands over your head. Step your feet out as you breathe out. Coming through that halfway lift to our forward fold position with a nice big bend in our knee. Breathe in, coming back to our halfway lift, hands on our knees. And breathe out, letting everything relax down, either to the floor or to a block. Breathe in, coming back to our plank position, either on our toes, with our belly button sucked in tight, or on our knees. Breathe out as we lower ourselves down, bending our elbows, bringing our forehead to the floor. Breathe out, zipping your legs together, pressing your feet to the tops of the floor, and squeezing our elbows back into our cobra pose. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. And breathe out, pressing your cheek to the ground and letting everything go soft. Breathe in, coming to our tabletop pose, and then either to our downward facing dog or puppy pose. And breathe out, letting everything relax in this position. Pressing all 5 fingers into the mat, lifting our tailbone up, keeping our knees nice and bent. And then coming to our resting pose, whether that be our full child's pose or our modified child's pose, if this is where you're at so far.